Welcome, everyone. If you haven't had a chance to meet me yet, my name is Katie Weiland. I'm the new-ish middle school and high school program director here at Zion. And I am part of the addiction recovery team that we have started. There's a lot of good ministry that we hope will come from this team. So this forum today, we're just trying to do some general education and talk about what our next steps are going to be as a congregation and as a team. So why should the church care about this ministry? I put up from James this verse here. Are any among you sick? They should call for the elders of the church and have them pray over them, anointing them with oil in the name of the Lord. The prayer of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise them up, and anyone who has committed sins will be forgiven. Imperfection welcome, right? None of us are perfect. Everyone screws up here or there, and we screw up in all sorts of different ways. And as a loving church community, I think it's important that we support each other and lean on each other when we're having challenges. So this group is specifically focused on addiction recovery, and I just wanted to do some general facts that we have about addiction. Globally, it's estimated that 500,000 people die every year because of drug use. And in the United States, alcohol is the third leading cause of preventable death. Another statistic based in America, 23.5 million Americans are addicted to alcohol and drugs. That's approximately 1 in every 10 Americans over the age of 12. But only 11% of those people actually get treatment. So it affects a lot of people, but there's kind of a gap between who gets treated for these issues and what kind of care they receive. And part of the goal of this ministry is the church is a great community where people can get resources and get support and help and kind of bridge that gap. You know, people are struggling, and we know that they're struggling. They're within our community, and we have the resources to give them the help that they need. Another statistic we have, in addition to substance addiction, there are many other types of behavioral addictions, including things like codependency, gambling, sex, food, pornography, and more. So it's not just, we are focused kind of primarily at this point on alcohol, but if you've taken our congregational survey already, or if that's something you still are going to do, you'll notice we do have a question about other types of addictions too. So we're not trying to pigeonhole, it's not just alcohol here. So to better understand how broad the influence of alcohol and addiction is on people's lives, I just wanted to show you some of these graphs. Alcohol consumption is a cultural norm in America, and most adults have participated in drinking alcoholic beverages at some point in their lifetime. Good news like a job promotion, an engagement, an anniversary, a win for the Super Bowl maybe. All these situations are situations where people are like, yeah, let's celebrate with a drink, you know? So as you can see on this first graphic over here, this comes from the American Addiction Center's website. These are percentages of people polled who would classify each of these occasions as a reason to celebrate with alcohol. So number one being your birthday. 83% said, yeah, on my birthday, I'm going to celebrate with a drink. Next being a friend's engagement, a wedding anniversary, finishing a busy work week. That's kind of a casual thing if you ask me. 65% said they would celebrate the end of a work week with a drink. And then also, if you're looking over to this graphic on the right, on just the top half with the alcohol bottles, this is showing us the average number of drinks consumed at each of these kind of events where people self-reported that they would be engaging in drinking. The number one being a bachelor or bachelorette party, and people would average about 5 drinks at that kind of occasion, which at that point, 5 drinks, that's considered binge drinking. So excessive drinking, also known as binge drinking, is a serious but preventable public health problem in the United States. According to the CDC's 2022 report, binge drinking is defined as a man consuming 5 or more drinks on a single occasion, or 4 or more drinks for women. Binge drinking is most common among younger adults aged 18 to 34 years of age, but of all the adults of legal drinking age in the US, 1 in 6 admits to binge drinking at some point in their lifetime, and from those that admitted they binge drink, 25% admit to doing so at least weekly. There are serious health risks associated with binge drinking. We know alcohol affects the brain and it can impair your judgment. So some potential health problems that are kind of immediate from that impaired judgment could be unintentional injuries, motor vehicle crashes, falls, alcohol poisoning, violence, sexually transmitted diseases, or unintentional pregnancies. But there are also potential long-term consequences to frequent and heavy drinking, including chronic diseases like high blood pressure, stroke, heart and liver disease, and I think, cancer, and then memory and learning problems as well. So despite all of this, if we look on the second half of this graphic on the right of the booziest events, the percentages in this little pie chart over here is people reporting they would be upset if alcohol was prohibited at any of these events. So the number one, 62%, they would be upset if there was no alcohol allowed at a bachelor or bachelorette party. Number two, a wedding reception. 53% said they would be upset if they went to a wedding reception where alcohol was prohibited. And then a night out with coworkers, night out with friends, a little bit more casual events. Now, all this being said, not everyone who consumes alcohol has a drinking problem. However, we all exist somewhere on this spectrum, from those of us who don't drink alcohol at all, to the other extreme, which is people who have a chemical dependency. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. It's a bell curve, and we can all relate to this issue because we all land somewhere on this curve. According to the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, that's put out every 5 years, so the current one is from 2020 to 2025, put together by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, drinking in moderation is when adults of legal drinking age choose not to drink or choose to drink 2 or less per day for men or 1 or less per day for women. As I said, every single person lies somewhere on this spectrum, and it touches each of our lives. And the statistic I do have from Anoka County, so more prevalent to us here today, alcohol is the #1 substance use disorder treated within our county. And according to the Minnesota Department of Health, 1,271 people from Anoka County were admitted to substance use disorder treatment anywhere in Minnesota within the year 2020. That was the most recent statistic I could find. So it'd be interesting to see how the pandemic has affected those numbers too. All this to say that addiction issues touch all communities, and ours is no different. So one of the first things we're doing with the addiction recovery team is a congregational survey. We want to get a baseline for how the congregation is feeling about these issues, their opinions about what sort of things we should be working on or working towards as a community. And the survey is live right now. We have paper copies at the front desk. There's a QR code. It's been in the bulletins and the e-news and everything. So if you haven't filled out the survey yet, I would highly encourage you to do that today at some point before you leave. We can get you a paper copy or show you how to scan the QR code. It's super important, and it's super cool. The data we collect is all going to the University of Texas, and they compile. We're partnering with Faith Partners. And so other churches have this kind of program too. And all of that data that those churches collect and our church, they all compile it together. So it's really a cool way to see kind of where we stand and how other ministry settings also stand on some of these issues. And then it'll help us develop where we want to go. Like, do we want to do more education, like adult forums? Do we want to focus on prevention? Do we want to support people who have needs now? Like, do we want to host AA meetings? All those kinds of things will help be answered from this survey. Next, today, we would like to lead some small group discussion just at your tables. We have some questions for you. You should have them on your handout, but they're also up on the screen. So I would just like to facilitate a time for you guys to chat at your tables about what this ministry means to you or what you think it could mean for us at Zion.
Well, no, I know this. I don't know about your table, but our table it's still having some great discussions. So I don't want to interrupt that, but I'm watching time too. And Katie did bring some pencils. And then we have some extras surveys here that if you would like to, if you haven't filled out a survey and would like to, we would love that. Just a few things. A survey confirms the prevalence of alcohol and other drug misuse and addiction within the congregation, as well as the existence of hidden experience, expertise, and resources. As we talked about in our table, we don't talk about this. And so when when we take in the survey, all of a sudden, you realize, I'm just going to put a couple at your table. There's, I need help with this, or I don't know much about this, or my family, or whatever the case may be. So that's one thing. It provides an accurate view of the congregation's receptiveness towards this ministry. So I told this story at our one of our team meetings that Drew Brooks. He's the guy that I said we were working with for with Faith Practices, and he said, there's a church that they had some people. They were wanting to start an addiction recovery team, right? And they had it in their minds that this is what we needed to do. Thank you. This is what we need to have, AA groups. We need to do all this, right? Well, when the congregation took the survey, they really wanted to go in more of a direction of prevention. How do we do some education and do prevention? And they no, that can't possibly be. And so they kind of did their own agenda when the congregation's like, no, this is what we want. This is what so that's why we want this. We want your feedback. We want to do these surveys because we want to know, what is it that you think we really need to address in our community, in our church? So, and also, Ron said this too earlier, it's completely anonymous, but if you want to help and maybe help with some events, you can put your name on it too, and we will contact you and can be part of our wonderful team, right? Yes. So, and also, just like I said, educational tools. So, yeah. So thank you all for participating, for coming, for helping, for filling out the survey. Awesome. Well, thank you.